Hi guys, this is Mr. Menefee with Forensic Science, and today we're going to be looking at physical trauma, doing some demonstrations on some pieces of pork today. So first thing we're going to start off with is going to be blunt force trauma, and we're going to be taking a look at the couple different things that are blunt force trauma. Blunt force trauma is generally going to be a mass of something that is not making a sharp incision wound or a sharp cut. It's basically a big smack against something, okay? And it has a couple different ways it looks. So we're going to go through this one by one. So our first one is going to be an abrasion. Abrasion is when part of the body rubs against a rough surface and a portion of the skin may or may not be removed, but it's basically rubbing against the rough surface. So for our first one is we have the brush abrasion. And so for our rough surface, we're going to use a cheese grater, and I'm just going to do this right here to this chunk of meat, and this is actually turning out really well. Okay, let's do some here. Let's make it a little grosser. Okay, and this is a really kind of a hard one to document without actual blood and tissue, but you can see right here that we've got the abraded surface and we've got these chunks of flesh and fat that are coming off into the cheese grater. Okay, so guys, go ahead and take a photo of this, and this is going to be the brush abrasion. Okay, next we're going to take a look at impact abrasions. Now, impact abrasion is when the force is applied perpendicular to the skin that it may be crushed. All right, so we're using our flat surface of our hammer here, and we're just going to apply force to it. And what you're going to see is you're going to see an indentation. Let's hit this one. See a little bit of an indentation here. Okay, and you're seeing the indentation form here. Now, this is an example of an impact abrasion. Point it out. So we've got the indentation here. You can see the square shape, and then this side we've got the square shape that's really kind of went into the taper of it, and it's a really deep indentation there. Okay, and this is impact abrasion. Okay, so last one, the third one, is the pattern abrasion, okay? And it's basically can happen to an impact abrasion or a brush abrasion. So let's say someone's riding their motorcycle and they tip their bike over and they're sliding along the asphalt, okay? It's going to be a brush abrasion, but it's going to have that particular asphalt pattern present in the body, okay? If we got the impact abrasion, okay? But we've got something that leaves a pattern mark, and it could be a car bumper, it could be a hammer like this, okay? You're seeing little tiny dots in there from the impact, from the surface of the item. Okay? And even if we switch it up with my classroom safe demonstration knuckles, you can also see the impact from the knuckle section itself in there. Okay? Okay, so this last one is a laceration, and a laceration is where you rip or tear the skin. So I've taken these two barbecue forks and I'm pulling it apart and I'm ripping the skin apart, okay? And that is a laceration, okay? It is a ripping or tearing of the skin. It is not pretty. It's going to be pretty destructive and pretty gnarly looking. This is a laceration. Okay, so now we have stab wounds. And a stab wound is basically something sharp and pointy, and it's just going in. And the thing is, with a stab wound, it can go in pretty deep, and the wound itself doesn't look that impressive. I mean, already I've lost the wound here. Okay, I'm just going to poke it again. Little tiny opening, but I've gone all the way through the tissue. Okay, so I may not have very much blood on the outside of the wound, but in the inside, the person might be bleeding internally based on this wound. And this is a stab wound. And it doesn't have to come from a knife. It could literally be a stick. It literally could be any of these sharp, pointy items that's on my table right now. This is stabbing. Okay, so this next one is an incised wound, which is more commonly known as a slash or a cutting wound. Now, here's what's going to happen is I've taken a small blade. We're using small blades here, mostly for safety purposes, but also to understand that how absolutely devastating a small blade can be. Okay, I did a little slash, not much there. Let's try again here, mostly because I wasn't paying attention, because I'm talking to the camera right now. That little tiny slash, and I've got that big, massive wound. That's at least a ½ inch deep, and it's cut into the tissue. Okay, if that was a person, they would be bleeding excessively right now. Okay, let's put a little more effort into it. Little tiny blade that is not terribly sharp, and this, we'd be cutting you to the bone. So this would bleed a whole lot, but it might not be life-threatening. Then again, if you lose enough blood, everything's life-threatening. So this is what is formally called an incised or an incision wound, also commonly known as a slash. And lastly, what we have is the chop wound. Now, I'm using my personal tomahawk here. We're going to demonstrate how much effective damage you're going to have from this, and we're actually going to use this on the pork belly. And we're going to kind of, well, we'll just leave it flat like this. Okay? So this is a chop wound. We would have hit bone. Massive, massive wound cavity. You're bleeding a lot. You're probably got chunks of bone missing. And this is a chop wound. A chop wound causes an excessively large amount of damage. So where do you see chop wounds normally? You see chop wounds if someone's attacked with a machete, someone's attacked with an axe, someone has an accident, or the most common version is someone is dumb and sticks their hand or foot inside of a running lawnmower. And this is a chop wound.